So, you have decided you want to travel the world. The world is a pretty big place, and I know that planning a trip can be a super daunting experience. After backpacking through Europe for just about 3 months this past summer, a lot of you guys asked me to do a video on the details about the journey, how I planned it, how I could afford it, where to begin, etc. Since there's just so much ground to cover about traveling the world, and since I could literally talk about this subject forever, I've decided to start a little travel series that will hopefully get you on that plane to see the beautiful planet. In this video, we're going to discuss step number 1, planning the adventure. Congrats! You've decided you want to see the world. Feeling this little itch to travel is the first step, and if you're anything like me, you'll probably get addicted in no time. But now that that little travel bug has bit you, how do you decide where you want to go? Well, first off, there's no wrong way to travel. Correction, if you're that tourist who decides to carve his or her name into the Colosseum, then you're wrong and you should feel bad. But as long as you're respectful to the culture you've just stepped foot in, there's no wrong way to travel. What I mean by this is that you have the freedom to choose what is most valuable to you in life, including travel experiences. If your perfect vacation consists of 5-star meals and lounging on a beach in an all-inclusive cabana, that's fantastic. If your perfect vacation includes couch surfing, ramen noodles, and art galleries, that's awesome. If your perfect vacation is based on hostels, pub crawls, and nightlife, that's great. We all value different things in life, including what makes a holiday quote-unquote fantastic. So as long as you're not harming the culture, the monuments, or nature of your desired place, you're in the clear. Now that we've gotten that straightened out, how do you decide where you want to go? Well, like I said, we all value different things, and unfortunately, I can't directly help you figure out what's important to you in life or in a vacation. But I can give you some awesome resources that will help you figure it out. My 2 all-time favorite travel resources are wikitravel.org and wikivoyage.org. The 2 sites are extremely similar in pretty much all aspects, and I tend to flip between the 2 of them, to be honest. Both have a world map that you can click on and read about what makes a particular continent unique, and then you can read about individual countries from there. Both of them also have extremely detailed information pertaining specifically to tourists or travelers, like visa requirements, currency information, common language phrases, domestic and international travel information, and so on and so forth. Wikivoyage also has a super helpful virtual tourist office, where you can search for specific words or phrases, and pages with those words or phrases will be pulled up on the site. For example, if I was really interested in nightlife, I could search Wikivoyage for nightlife and be linked to Seoul, the capital of South Korea, which apparently has a very vibrant nightlife. I would have never known. 2 other resources for planning travels are reddit.com/r/solotravel and reddit.com/r/travel. Both communities are full of travel inspiration, experiences, and like-minded people who are eager to see the world as well. This is a great place to start if you have absolutely zero idea where you'd like to travel first, as there are many threads dedicated to helping people find a destination that they'd love to be. There are also a few factors to keep in mind when deciding where you want to go, specifically time of year you'd like to travel and transportation in your destination. In addition to the typical calendar seasons, summer, winter, fall, and spring, some destinations also have a wet and dry season. Summer is usually referred to as the high season when it comes to tourism, as this is when most people get their traveling in for the year. Traveling during this time of the year, on one hand, will usually ensure pretty decent weather for the duration of your travel, but on the other hand, this usually means a lot more crowds and heightened prices in everything from meals to lodging. The opposite is true for traveling in the winter in most areas, so it's just something to keep in mind. Some places also have more widely available public transportation than others, and some places are accessible only really by renting a private vehicle or even booking tours in advance. All of the information about weather and transportation in your specific destination can pretty easily be answered in the wiki links, so check them out for more information. And as always, links are included in the description bar, so definitely check that out. So now that you've figured out where you'd like to go and when, let's talk about probably the most obvious struggle when it comes to travel: money. Where do you find the money to travel the world? Well, unfortunately, I don't have a magic answer for you guys. I wish I did. Truth is, in most cases, you simply have to save up and make traveling a priority in your budget. Depending on your income and desired travel style, coming up with the money could take a long time or not very long at all. If you plan to stay at an all-inclusive resort with a beach view, obviously that's going to cost a little bit more than a hostel in most places. If you plan to eat out at expensive restaurants for every meal, that's going to cost a lot more than cooking your own food from the grocery store. Your dollar will stretch further in Southeast Asian countries than in Scandinavian countries. Differences like this make your travel budget extremely subjective. So it's difficult to give blanket advice simply because every person and every budget is so drastically different. I could make an entire video dedicated to traveling frugally. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know in the comments down below. But for this video, let me give you the basics of what I personally did to travel for nearly 3 months, financially speaking. First, I picked my destination and bought my plane tickets. In this particular case, it was actually cheaper for me to buy a one-way ticket to New York City and then a one-way ticket from New York to Berlin with a stopover in Oslo than it was for me to buy a one-way ticket directly from Las Vegas to Berlin with any stopovers. So although it added a little bit of time to my itinerary, I saved a couple $100s. My favorite website for buying tickets is google.com/flights because it shows you both on a map and in calendar format the specific days as well as the airports it would be cheapest to fly into. If you're somebody who always goes for the cheapest flights, this is the best tool that I have personally found. And if you're the more adventurous type with no specific destination in mind, Skyscanner.com is a fantastic option, simply because they literally have the option to search for anywhere on the globe. So for example, let's say that you are available at some point during the month of March, but you don't know when yet. And you're available to go anywhere, but you don't know where you want to go. On Skyscanner, you can literally select an entire month that you would want to travel at some point during, and you can actually select the everywhere option when you're searching for a destination. So doing it this way will show you the cheapest place to fly on the planet during the entire month of March to travel to from your specific destination. So if you're the adventurous type, I highly recommend. It's fantastic. Once I bought my plane tickets, I researched a little bit of what I wanted to do in the specific countries I was going to. For me, I personally love museums, learning about history, and the occasional nice meal. I also knew that I would be traveling by train between countries, and I would be staying primarily in hostels. So I pretty much just Googled a little bit of what I wanted to do in each country, got a price range for those specific activities, added it up, and multiplied it by the number of days I would be traveling. This was my basic budget. Due to the fact that I'd be traveling through Europe during the high season, it can get expensive. So just to be safe, I upped my daily budget to $100 a day. Yes, this is a lot of money. No, you don't need to do this. I ended up spending on average way under $100 a day, but it was comforting knowing that I had a little extra wiggle room in my budget in case anything came up. I highly recommend giving yourself a daily budget, no matter what it is, during the entire time that you're traveling. A daily budget, in my personal opinion, is a lot easier to keep in the back of your head than an overarching budget that spans for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. Once you have your overall budget and your daily budget figured out, it's time for the hardest part, saving your money. It took me about 6 months to save up for my trip, and I was determined to save every penny I could. I didn't buy any new clothes or makeup. I didn't drive anywhere I didn't have to, so I could avoid putting gas in my car as much as possible. I didn't go out to the movies. I didn't really do much of anything fun, honestly, and it was all specifically so I could save up as much as possible before I left the country. It can be really brutal, but with a bit of restraint, it can be done, and it is so worth it. So that is pretty much all it comes down to when planning a trip, at least the very basics of it. Honestly, once I figured out where I wanted to travel, the only planning I really did was, well, saving money. I plan to do entirely separate videos on packing, lodging, solo travel, and really anything else that you guys would be interested in seeing. So let me know in the comments down below, or reach out to me on any of my social media if you have any specific requests. And if you're planning a trip, the links in the description